I'm recording this in December of 2024 to mark a special anniversary of my family history. My late father hailed from this bucolic hamlet of Binsfeld, Luxembourg. Nestled back here in the center of town is the community's Catholic church, which was built in 1894. On Christmas Eve 1944, with the Battle of the Bulge in full tilt in and around this part of Luxembourg, my dad, then 17 years old, attended Christmas Eve Mass. After the service, he walked the road back home, but before he could arrive, he encountered a German half-track truck. SS guards jumped out of the vehicle and indiscriminately detained 10 men. My father was caught in the roundup. So, a little historical backdrop. Luxembourg was invaded by the Nazis in May 1940, and Luxembourg was then under Nazi occupation for more than 4 years until September of 1944, when the Allies liberated Luxembourg, but only temporarily. So in December of 44, the Germans famously launched the Ardennes Offensive, which would later become known as the Battle of the Bulge. And during this offensive, they reoccupied Luxembourg. So my dad's hometown of Binsfeld is now once again occupied by the Germans. And it turns out that the Luxembourg underground movement was quite active at this time and was doing all kinds of clandestine sabotaging efforts, sabotaging the German war effort. The Germans couldn't find these operatives, so in response, as reprisals against the sabotaging, they rounded up innocent people and then publicly executed them. And it was in these reprisals, then, one of them that my dad was caught up. So it's Christmas Eve, these 10 doomed detainees head off to prison, and later my dad related to me how brutally ironic it was that evening to listen to a lone German soldier, apparently kind of drunk, started singing in German Stille Nacht, which in English, of course, is Silent Night. My dad related to me how brutal it was, shivering in fear and cold in that cell, to listen to the lyrics of Schlaf in himmlischer Ruhe, to sleep in heavenly peace. So after a week of this physical torture, they're not being fed, emotionally you're a wreck, and you're awaiting your execution on New Year's Day. So New Year's Day, the would-be execution starts to unfold. It's to be a public execution, and just as the execution is unfolding, the would-be execution, a German supply truck, an empty supply truck heading back from the front, back to Germany, waves off the head, sees what's happening, waves off the executioner, and says, we could rather use these guys as slave labor back in Germany. So these 10 doomed detainees are, at least momentarily, spared their fate, loaded on the truck, and head back to the German motherland now as slave labor, and would, of course, now have to face the grim fate of the concentration camps. Eventually, not all 10 of them make their way home, but somehow, fortunately, my dad escaped the camps and, in fact, made his way back home. Sometime after the war, a woodcut was placed in the vestibule of that Binsfeld church to remember the detainees. It memorializes a moment in which they unearthed an icon of the Virgin Mary while repairing an airstrip as slaves during their time in the camps. So on this Christmas Eve, 80 years later, I remember and honor my late dad. I honor and pass blessings to all those caught up in the senselessness of war throughout the ages. I lift up and honor all efforts of those out there who strive for a world in which everyone, everywhere, can, in fact, sleep in heavenly peace.